how would you like to make your first million? And today we have Muema, which is the author of Bootstrap Startup Funding Playbook. And he is an angel investor and a bootstrapping expert who had who had multiple startups launch and sell without a venture capital. Millionaire cake something company to 5 figures in revenue. Wow. And in just 30 days, he's the author, as I said, a startup funding dictionary and the bootstrap startup funding playbook. So he has invested in 15 plus startup with 5 successful exits. So, Moema, tell us what are the 5 steps that you recommend tech entrepreneurs in order to make the first million pro market fit?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Absolutely. So, in order to make your first million, these are the 5 steps I recommend. Number one is choose a proven business model, right? Number two is solve a real problem. Number three is talk to customers and ship something that's real that solves their problem. Number four is charge your customers immediately, right? So you want to validate that customers are willing to pay for your product. Uh, and then number five is compounding. So basically, you can use customer revenue to build and scale your business. So let's unpack each of those. So in terms of choosing a proven business model, choose a model where people are actually paying right now. What problem are you solving, which is the second piece, but where are people paying right now? They're paying for bookkeeping, they're paying for accounting, they're paying for cleaning services, they're paying for software that automates or maybe enables AI in their business. So choose a proven model where people are already paying, number one. There are many ways to grow and scale a business. And if this advice may not work, for example, if you're trying to build like a SpaceX, right? That requires a lot of capital and a lot of time. My advice isn't for you. My advice is mainly for tech entrepreneurs, SaaS entrepreneurs, people who are building services business. Next is solve a real problem, right? What problem are people having, and then do you have a solution to that problem? Talk to your customers, figure out, are they willing to pay for your product or service? Do you need to change the pricing? Do you need to change the options of that product? Charge them immediately, right? That's the true validation of customers willing to pay you, and then reinvest that capital to grow and scale your business.
Moema, out of the 500 millionaires that we interview in this podcast, 1 out of 5 are tech entrepreneurs and tech millionaires, and they have done exits. So, but in the real perspective, because we specialize, it's early stage and angel investment, bootstrapping the company. Can you tell us what is the good, the bad, and the ugly of tech businesses? Because it doesn't matter what we say here. We talk a lot in this podcast about okay, there is risk involved, and if you don't know what you're doing, there is a large um, amount of failure in the tech space. Everybody talking about their success, and people listening this podcast. Clearly, it's a good vehicle to create wealth because the statistical put us shows this 100 millionaires, 1 out of 5 are millionaires, 1 out of 5 are 50 millionaires. But you tell us what is the good, the bad, and the ugly of a tech business, and if it's then easy to become a millionaire in tech or not.
Great. Is it easy to become a millionaire in tech? That's the $1 million question. Um, I'd say the good is it's exciting, it's interesting, it's uncharted territory. You're meeting new people, you're building relationships, you're growing and scaling, you're developing new skills, you're wearing multiple hats. You've got to be a salesperson, you've got to be an engineer, you've got to do customer service, you've got to do help desk and support, you've got to ship product, you've got to get customer reviews and rating, you've got to manage your finances. So the good is you're developing new skills, you're building new relationships, cross-functional relationships within your company and also across industry. I'd say the bad is uh, we've gotten lots of bad information. And what I mean by that is people think you hear the stories of somebody who built an app on the weekend and made seven figures in 30 days. That's the exception, not the norm, right? Most businesses take 5 to 10 years before they become profitable or make meaningful revenue. So I think the bad is we get bad information or unrealistic expectations. Also, the bad is everyone is brainwashed to believe that venture capital is the only way to grow and scale a business. That's one of many ways, but what people fail to realize is less than 2% of businesses and or founders are successful in raising venture and angel funding. I say the ugly is that it's hard. There, you may get a customer and make a lot of money, and then it'll be dry for a little while, and then you make a lot of money again. So people underestimate how long it takes to be successful, and may not have the mental fortitude to stick to it. So I'd say that's the good and the bad and the ugly of you know building a tech business and becoming a millionaire.
So, well, I'm watching your biography and the track record, and it's very impressive. Like five exits out of 15 startups that you have invested and worked with is a spectacular result. So tell us or tell us our founders listening this podcast, okay? Um, what are you looking for in order to say, hey, this company have a chance to succeed. I'm gonna get involved. I'm gonna deploy some capital. I'm gonna find some angels, investor friends of mine to bring them on board. I think that they have potential because clearly your criteria of your system clearly is working because this rate is spectacular, especially in the type of on the time that you enter in the business, which is really, really early stage, and to get to your first client and to revenue. I saw that one of them has been in revenue 30 days. This is actually very impressive for a startup that nobody knows you, nobody knows what you're doing. So tell us, our founders listening the podcast, what are you looking in a startup, in a tech startup, that will give you good signs that that is something that you might be able to get involved.
Sure. Off the top of my head, I'll tell you five things I'm looking for, and then I'll go into each of them. So one is the team, one is metrics, one is 10x, one is a problem, and one is insights. So for the team, I'm looking to see, um, do you have a team? Were you able to assemble a team? Who is your team? Do you have domain expertise in that space, right? If you're building an ad platform, have you worked in advertising before? If you're building a cybersecurity platform, have you worked in cybersecurity before? So, who is the team you've assembled and do you have credibility? Did you do cybersecurity at Google? That's pretty impressive. Did you do cybersecurity at one of the cybersecurity firms? That's pretty impressive. Next, I look at another thing I look at is metrics. So, do you have any metrics? A lot of investors are data driven, so they want to see 20% month on month growth for at least 6 months, right? So, do you have those growth? Do you have metrics? Let's get access to your data room. Let's take a look at, are you growing? What's your churn? What's your LTV? What's your CAC? So, metrics are important. Uh, Without data, it's difficult to make a decision. Next is 10x. And what I mean by 10x is, do you know who your competitors are? If I ask you if you're building Uber for cats, who else is building Uber for cats, number one? And then number two, how are you 10x better than them? And the ability to articulate that clearly. Another thing that dimension we're looking for is the problem. What problem are you solving? Have you defined that problem crystal clear? And have you defined your ideal customer profile, your ICP? And then lastly, insights. So if you've been operating for 3 to 6 months and you have metrics and you have 20% month-on-month growth, what insights have you have from your customers? And if I know more about your sector than you do in our pre-meeting, then I'm not likely not going to invest. So demonstrate to me that you have incredible insights about your product, your business, and your customers, and that's why you're going to win.
So what message do you have for these startup founders that will tell you, okay, Moema, this is that you share with is amazing, but you don't understand. My product is different. My product is gonna change the world, and it's gonna change the industry, and you should you should invest in me now, right? Which is actually very common, and I see all the time. This is a conversation that you have heard millions of times. That's why I'm asking you. So, what message of reality do you have for the entrepreneur that will tell you, look, you don't understand. My business is different. We're going to change the world. This is a £1 billion company. Um, you should invest in me now. So, what message do you have for those startup founders?
Sure, great question. The message I have for those startup founders is uh, two things: time and prove it. What I mean by time is look at getting an investment as building a relationship with an investor, right? So you're building a relationship with angel investor or a venture capital investor. It's like dating. You don't go on a date and get married tomorrow, right? You spend time, you get to know the person. So invest time in building relationships with investors, number one. Number two, do research on investors. Go on their LinkedIn, go on their Twitter, go on their personal blogs. What do they post about? Make sure you're pitching the right investors, right? Some investors say, I don't do music companies. Some investors say, I don't do SaaS companies. Some investors say, I only invest in climate tech companies. So doing your research on investors, so you spending time to, understand what those investors are and pitching the right investors. And then understanding that the investor wants to take time to get to know you. Are you coachable? Do you listen? In the first meeting, they may ask you, what milestones are you planning for the next quarter or for the next year? And in the next meeting, they may ask you, oh, you told me about these milestones. Did you meet those milestones? Yes or no? The other topic I want to talk about is proving it. So you're going to change the world. Your product is better than everybody else. It's better than Uber. It's better than Palantir. It's better than SpaceX. Prove it. You can't just tell it to me, but prove it. Show me the data. Show me a customer review. Show me how you're saving time. Show me how you're saving money. Like, give me some third party proof besides your words that shows me that this is the path forward.
I agree 100% with you. And let's go deep in this because I work with a lot of startups. I advise them in London, yeah, and all over the world. And so the issue, so one, the to closing the gap between the founder and the investor, and in this case, the angel investor, uh, it has to be, now the gap is so big. We have the founders that they're telling you exactly what I'm telling you. Like uh, most of them, they are software developers, okay, and they have been in. They want to have their own company because the right to like software, they start to develop this solution that, and then add features, add benefit, add this, and then they put a lot of money, and then when the money finish, they remortgage the house, and then they build this big elephant, and after they run out of resources, they come to you and tell you, can you invest because I need the money to sell it, and then you're gonna look at me and say, Harry, but if they can, I'm not gonna sell it for them. I don't have any proof that they can sell this, and right, that big source is huge. What they don't take uh, those resources to prove it, to put it out there in the market. So some of them, they're very introverts, so they hide behind the code, they hide behind the platform, they hide behind the technology, right? without without doing an important part, which is if you don't go out there and show it to people. And let me give you some statistics based in this podcast. Out of the 100 million that we interview in tech here at this podcast, the successful one, you will realize that 80% they are not even software developers. They are marketing and sales experts. They know how to go out there, ask to the people what they want, how much they're willing to pay for, get as much information, and then they go back and they had a developer and build it. Those ones here, over 80% of this podcast, they are all more marketing and sales, because product market fit, your first million is a marketing and sales exercise, and find what the clients want. But the other 20 that came here and they are software developers, they come to the podcast and they spend the whole podcast talking about marketing, about say, Harry, you're not gonna believe this is how I find my first client, that this is how I pivot, this is how I find my second client, and this is my strategy. And they spend the whole podcast talking about how fascinated they are and how involved they are more in the marketing and sales process, and getting the product in front of the people right at the technology. So in terms of resources, what are the and actually your 5 steps? If you look at those 5 steps that you just shared at the beginning, they are more relating with marketing and sales than actually the technology itself. Because all of these 5 steps that you mentioned, most of them is, you didn't even tell me, Harry, have the best technology in the world. You didn't tell me this. You told me, Harry, look, see what is your competitor, show me how much there is, how can you do it better. You don't ask, you didn't tell me, look, if it's not spectacular and unique and whatever, I don't touch it. Totally the opposite. So, and you also talk about the team. So can you expand a little bit more, because the founder, they need to understand when you mean team, what that really means, because they will come to you and say, look, I have a team, but if this team doesn't have credibility, nobody have credibility in the team, uh how you gonna sell it, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Sure. So let's talk about the team. I'm just taking notes here. Uh, so the team is critical if you are in the fundraising process, because it demonstrates capability. And the team also demonstrates your ability to network and convince people to join your vision and your mission early, when you have no capital, when you have no customers, and when you have no revenue. So it's essentially, you're, as CEO, you're selling to customers, but you're also selling people to come join your vision. So fundamentally, when we're investing in early stage companies, the team is a critical important as our metric. So who's on the team? What credibility do they have? Have they worked in this space before? Right? I'll give you a good example. So I recently invested in a company called Rewrite, Reright. They're a music publishing platform in Europe and around the world. The founder has instant credibility. He led music licensing for YouTube and Google for 10 years. So he then quit and started a company in that space. So the instant domain expertise. He's a lawyer, he's an MBA, he did it for YouTube for a decade. He understands the problem, the customer, and now is starting a company in that space, right? So the team is critically important. Now, there are many ways to hack the team or to add credibility. So one example is, usually for a startup, you have a board of directors. One thing you could also have is a board of advisors. So one way to hack the credibility is to say, for example, you're building a beauty startup, right? You look for a board of advisors, and you look for people who are basically part of your team of advisors, who are strong where you're weak. So you may bring on an advisor who did marketing for Marketo. You may bring on an advisor who is really good at fundraising, right? So you bring in advisors. That's a way to augment your team, give your company instant credibility, and for that you give them a percentage of your company, say like a quarter of 1% that they earn over 3 to 4 years, but they have to deliver milestones every quarter to help you achieve that. Another cheat code is to find somebody that exited in your space. So if you're doing a beauty startup, you found somebody that built a beauty startup maybe 3 to 5 years ago and exited, bring them on as a board of advisors, as an advisor. But then the requirement for them is you want them every quarter to introduce you to one of the investors that help fund their company. So it's a cheat code for raising capital, but it's also a way to add instant credibility to your firm because it shows, okay, if this person that exited believes in your company, there must be a there. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, and I want to ask you the next one, which is related to, like, for example, in these podcasts, uh, like with your expertise so early, I think no more than 5 people have come at the earliest stage. Everybody with a lot of investors have been interviewing this podcast, but they want the company when it's more mature, when it's already selling a million, selling a million, selling a quarter of million, selling and more than that, like scale them more. Why do you think? Because you are like a very rare species that everybody's looking for. And so, why do you think there is so many little investors like you on the space? You clearly understand that the risk is huge, but what can we do? Because if there were more people like you, I think more startups uh, will thrive. But the problem is that early stage investors and angel investors, they are very hard to find, and there are not that many of them. Do you know why?
Yeah, I can tell you why. Because it takes a long time to make an exit generally, right? So normally it takes 10 to 15 years to have an exit. So that's one. I'd say what I see is people make a little bit of money. They decide to become an angel investor. They'll do one or two deals. They won't make any money from those deals. And they say, this is not working. I'm out, right? In order to have some modicum of success, you have to do probably about 20 to 30 deals, most of which will go to zero. The one that does win will oversee all of them. So that's one. Another reason why I see angel investors not last is the lack of liquidity. So maybe you invest in a few companies, and then in 5 or 10 years, your kids need to go to college. Guess what? There's no liquidity, right? But if you bought Nvidia, you can sell the stock and then fund your kids' college. So people realize there's no liquidity. So I think that's a challenge as well. And I also feel there's a bit of secrecy around angel investors, meaning that they're happy to talk to you about their wins, but they never tell you about how many losses they've had, right? So I think there's a lack of transparency there. But it's difficult to make money in angel investing. There are a lot of easier ways to make money in angel investing. So I think that's why there's so few investors in this space. And also I'll just tie that into, and that's part of the reason why I wrote the book, Bootstrap Startup Fund and Playbook, is that I think many people have been brainwashed that venture capital and angel investors are the only way to build and scale your business, and that's one way. But there are ways to build and scale your business by using customer revenue, by doing pre-orders, pre-sales, by doing crowdfunding, by working your day job and doing this stuff on the side. So there are many other ways to hack not being able to raise venture or angel investing.
Yeah, and I think that is more healthy for the company and for closing the gap. Like, for example, someone with your experience that, because I love the title of your book, by the way, we're going to talk more about this, that you look, you are a big okay of the bootstrap business. Do it with resources that you have. So that gives you an indication that the founder know how to manage resources. Because if he has little resources and can get some sales and get some traction, that will give you an indication. And also, at the beginning, they think they need money, but money is not gonna help them out. It's just gonna be a patch. They think they need it and they're desperate, but I think that more than money at this early stage, what they is priceless for them is your expertise, right? Your process that you have been through, and you can tell them, share, and say, look, I have the money, but let's bootstrap this until this point, okay? I can guide you. I can be in a board of advisors. You talk about board of advisors. Who better than you to advise them? Okay, they're gonna have way better chance to uh, to succeed, and also the we see more and more family offices jumping into the tech space. I actually speak at the Family Office Investment Summit uh, in, in in US regularly, and we had seen, like, these family offices, they usually property and traditional business, but now they're coming heavily investing in tech. However, they're coming with a different mindset. They're coming very close to your mindset. They want to see sales, they want to see growth, they want to see revenue. They are away from this VC mentality. They are more about, okay, if this tech business can give me something, because they don't understand. That's the only thing they understand. They understand growth, they understand profit, they understand asset, they understand uh, things like this. So when they see those, uh, they're also happy to invest. But yet, until they don't have bootstrap, but they don't have some results, the family office is not even gonna get closer. So tell us a little bit more what you see in the landscape that has changed in terms of the investors. Now with the use of AI, there are some people saying that, okay, that software as a service it had decreased just because of AI. You can now write your own software and things like this. So tell us, what is your view in all this?
Sure. So the question is like, how has the landscape changed? So the landscape has changed dramatically with the rise of AI. There's there are lots of rumblings and talks about how it's going to mean the decline of SaaS because you can basically create your own SaaS product in AI in 15 minutes. So that's one. It's also democratized knowledge, right? So uh, there's lots of articles about this right now that you're going to see many one-person unicorn companies going forward, right? So with the use of AI, with the use of OpenClaw, with the use of Codex, with the use of Claude Code, you don't need a development team. You don't need a marketing team. Um, you basically build and ship your product in 15 minutes or 15 hours and get customers directly. And you can have agents do customer support. I'll give you a great example. So Jason Lemkin, he's the king of SaaS investing. He puts on the SaaSter conference in San Francisco, in San Jose every year. He's an angel investor and he's also an operator. He's also a VC. He's built and scaled three SaaS companies. He recently posted on LinkedIn how he got rid of his sales team and uses AI agents. And an AI agent over a recent weekend closed a six-figure deal without any human involvement. So that's the future of sales. That's the future of marketing. And AI has completely changed the landscape. I think it's leveled the playing field, right? You don't need, depending on what you're building, but you may not need a huge development team. You may not need a high powered or high expense software engineer. A lot of that stuff can be done in the cloud and with AI. So I think there's a lot of opportunities there, but I think it's really about defining what problem are you solving, and then how can you build it faster and better than everybody else. But I think the opportunities are wide open right now with AI for sure.
So yeah, but things are changing so fast with the AI, especially with the cloud code and all these new development that we have. That how you can have agents that can do uh, your sales process and some
Mhm.
admin operation. Um, but still, the basics continue the same. Still, what advice do you have for entrepreneurs, tech startup founders that uh, they have a product that they think that it might solve a problem. So what are the things that they should be doing in order to bootstrap that until, let's say, the first indicator $100,000? I think that's the first indicator that you might be up to something good. And you said 30 days. That's fast. It's that's really fast. So some people that were telling me that, if they don't see sales in 30 to 90 days in a tech startup, they don't even want to touch it. They don't even want to see it. What's your opinion on this?
Sure. So I'm going to give you the consulting answer. It depends, right? So if you're building a, for example, a SpaceX, you may not see customers in 30 days, right? So it depends on what you're building, what the product is, what the solution is. The advice I would give is build something that people are paying for right now. So I'll give you a specific example. So I started a CFO, fractional CFO consulting company. Before I started the company, before I did anything, I canvassed my network on LinkedIn. Hey, what problems are you facing right now? Oh, I have a problem with bookkeeping. Oh, I have a problem with financial reporting. Oh, I need a CFO, but I'm not at the scale where I can afford CFO money. So when I canvassed my network about problems, that problem kept coming up. The first thing I did was put together a one-page solution. Hey, starting this fractional CFO consulting firm, we'll do your bookkeeping, we'll do your financial reporting for you. This is the monthly fee. Before I even built anything, right? Uh, got one customer. Within 30 days, we were at 5 figures in revenue. So my advice is find a problem that people are willing to pay for right now, present a solution to that problem, see if you can charge them today, and then build it, and then meet that demand or need. So my advice to founders is talk to customers, get their feedback. If you can't build the whole product, can you build a smaller portion of that product, tweak that product, get them as a customer, and then also ask them for referrals. Do they know other customers that may want that product or service? So I would say start there, like listen to your customers, and that'll determine your path forward.
So what do you think? Those ones that chat, that interact them with customers, you think they can use AI in order to get a data that will give them some indication that the product is fit for the market, or still you need this human interaction because that feedback probably AI is not smart enough to get you to what the people actually want to pay, or do you think that with AI that problem also can be solved for those ones that don't want to speak with customers?
Yeah, I think yes, and I think you need both, right? Because at the end of the day, you need data and research that shows that customers are paying for it, and AI is probably the quickest way to do that to help validate your concern. But you're still going to need to get a customer, right? So if you don't talk to customers, you're not going to know what's actually working, right? So AI is going to scour Quora, is going to scour Reddit, it's going to scour Product Hunt and give you data about what's working and what's not working. But also remember, AI hallucinates, right? So you need to validate what AI presents to you and also talk to real customers. I also want to go back to the question of advice you had. One piece of advice is pick something you're willing to do for 10 years. And what I mean by that is it takes a long time before you're profitable or before you get to meaningful scale. And so pick something that you're willing to write out for the long term, even when it's tough, right? So that's another piece of advice. But yeah, to your latter question, AI is a critical tool in helping you evaluate the market, helping you evaluate the go-to-market plan, helping you define your ICP, and also your product entry point.
So tell us about your books. Why you decided to write more than one? You see, I wrote. Well, I didn't even write it. My partner ghostwrite the books for me. That's how hard it is
Mm-hmm.
to write the book. So what is it? What inspired you to write those books? Tell us what they're about and where people are invited.
Sure. So the first book is the Ultimate Startup Funding Dictionary. The second book is the Bootstrap Startup Funding Playbook. You can find them both on my name on Amazon Kindle. So Muema Lombe, Muema Lombe. You do a search on Amazon Kindle books and you'll find them there. What inspired me to write them? So the Startup Funding Dictionary. What inspired me to write that is an angel investor. The way I say it is, I spent a decade in Silicon Valley, so you don't have to. So in Silicon Valley in New York, everyone knew the language and the lingo about startup funding. But when I went to other startup areas, not on the coasts, people may not have known what a cap table was, or LTV was, or CAC was, or bootstrapping was, or MVP was, and or for example, specific rights in your safe, etc. So I wrote this book to democratize that knowledge, so that way when you're talking to investors, you're talking to angels, you're talking to VCs, you understand the language, you understand the lingo, and you're not just sitting there silent because you're embarrassed because you don't know what the word is. So that was the initial book. The second book, the Bootstrap Startup Funding Playbook, that what inspired me to write that book was, again, as an angel investor, I found that many founders post on LinkedIn that they've raised X amount of dollars, and that raising money is an accomplishment. And that may be true for some founders, but like I mentioned before, the data suggests that less than 2% of founders actually raise venture capital or angel money. And there are many ways to build and scale your business without that, and you also want to emphasize that you can start with bootstrapping and raise venture capital later. For example, Amazon, right? He got $250,000 funding from his parents to get started, and then grew and scale later on. And some companies like Mailchimp didn't raise venture capital. So the book was really inspired to provide a tool to founders to say, hey, there are many ways to grow and scale your business, and it doesn't require venture capital. And here are 10 proven methods and a step by step guide of how to implement each. I also want to emphasize, too, that your funding, when you're thinking about funding your business, you want to have a funding stack. Let's say, just like you have a software stack, you want to have a funding stack. So you want to have multiple ways to fund your business, bootstrap it going forward, right? One way to do that is to keep your day job, right? So you keep your day job and you do this on the side. A second way to do that is perhaps you take a credit card loan. That may not be the best way because interest rates are quite high on that. Another way to do that is to do customer pre-sales, and then you actually make the product after you have pre-sales. Um, I'll give you one example of one founder. I don't have permission to tell his story with his name, but I can tell you what he did. So he has a software development company, third-party outsourcing firm, and he was building software for a dentist, and he had no money. So what did he do? He said, okay, can you pay me 1 year in advance, put the money into escrow, and then I'll define 12 milestones for 12 months. And each month as I deliver the milestone, I'll draw down 30 days of revenue from the escrow account. So that's another way to creatively fund the business without venture capital, having the customer prepay, the money's in escrow, and then your milestones are defined. So that's the reason why I wrote the books, and hopefully they'll be helpful tools for founders going forward.
So women in tech. I interviewed the Minister of Finance of Zimbabwe, and he told me, Harry, in Zimbabwe we have a program that we lend money to the people to grow vegetables, to the farmers, and then the people growing the vegetables, and they making the money and then pay back the loan, and then they ask for another loan. And he told me, however, the statistics have shown that women are way better paying back the loans than men. So he told me that as government, they were very happy to lend to women versus men because they were doing more. And then my friend Mitali, she's a founder of fashion, right? She's about to exit her company right now. Uh, so 2% of women get funding in tech. And she told me that her company were organically until 3 million very fast. But then in order to find the funding to scale up, it was a nightmare. That people were saying to her, look, why you don't remove yourself from the company? We put the CTO, we put the CEO, all boys, we give you the money if you do that and step aside. And she's an engineer and she built the company and she's an expert in data science and collate things. And then she had to prove growth uh, more than any male out there. And on top of that, it was hard. She talked with a lot of investors. I think a week ago I saw her and she told me, she showed me, I said, Harry, look, every single day I have a family office that want to buy my business. But this is how things change. So what do you think that for minorities, for women in tech, we have this huge challenge versus men?
Great question. I don't have the answer. That's one that I don't know why there is a challenge there. I think we probably have to be more visible about telling our story and understand our credibility. I mean, demonstrate our credibility, right? Did you work at Google? Did you work at Facebook? Do you have domain expertise? Do you have financial expertise? Do you have marketing expertise? Demonstrate your ability to recruit a team. Demonstrate your ability to talk to customers and get customer feedback. We able to talk to 100 customers and get their feedback in terms of what you're building. So I'd say we probably have to work a little bit harder, but I say the problems are not insurmountable. I think it's all about demonstrating your ability to, when there's a wall, no problem. You go to the left, you go to the right, you go over it, you go under it, but you just keep going. Like the best advice I can give people is don't let anything stop your forward progression. If you're not able to raise funding, use your credit card, use a home equity line of credit, keep your day job, borrow from friends and family. Maybe an old boss likes what you're building and they'll be a customer, right? So always don't let anything stop your forward progression. No doesn't mean no. No means not now, right?
And then basically it doesn't matter if you black, Chinese, women, as long as the number works, because I really believe that they're missing out a big opportunity. Clearly, everybody that didn't invest in her missed out big time
Yes. Yeah.
because she's that. It's my understanding that it's another big company that do kind something similar, but there are two of them only doing in the market, the bigs, right?
Hmm.
So people miss big time just because stereotypes, because probably the people handling the money, they have some bias and some way of doing things, and well, they've been investing in boys, and the boys they have success. They don't wanna take the risk, but like as you share, at the end of the day, what is important are the metrics,
Yeah.
and we should balance this a little bit more because get even worse. It came to my attention that it used to be maybe 4% that they were investing in women, and now decrease
Hmm.
to 2%, something like this. So right that we go better, we're going worse, and we don't know what's going on, what's happening.
Yeah. I mean, I would say uh, deal with people that want to deal with you. The best reaction from investors is when they say no quickly. The worst is when they drag you on because you're hoping that they might say yes and you're wasting time. Well, you're investing in building a relationship, but when they tell you no right away, you can know, okay, the person says no. I don't have to invest any more time trying to convince that investor. Ask them if you can add them to your mailing list so you can keep them updated on your milestones and maybe become an investor later. And then you focus on people that want to invest in you. If you're a person of color or if you're, a woman or some other group, there are plenty of funding opportunities and VC firms and funds that specifically invest in affinity groups, right? There are plenty of funding opportunities for LGBTQ founders, for female founders, for people of color founders, for Latino founders, for women founders. So when people say no, consider it a blessing. Okay, that person's out. I'm going to replace that pool of investors with the people that are in and focus on that. So um, I don't acknowledge problems, I acknowledge solutions. And a no is just, put that to the side and keep going 100 miles an hour ahead.
Yeah, probably because she got so much rejection. She
Hmm.
had to prove growth farther than anybody else, and she got to a point now that, that you see the company took off, and now it's on the other. Now nobody's they are not looking. Uh, uh, they don't looking now if she's a woman and whatever. Now every day she have family offices want to buy the business. She's in the process of exiting as we speak. So it's a great story. Well, my last question: where people can find you, how the process work. Uh, I clearly I know you're active in LinkedIn. So can you share with our tech founders where people can find you, how this process work, and if they want to contact you to do the homework first, so you can have a productive conversation, because when the startups, uh, I think this with a lot of founders that, no, I need funding, I need investor, I need. They think that that will solve the problem, but if they don't come with the homework. By the way, I love your books. This one that teach about the language of the investor, because that's the other thing. The startup founder speak the language of the founder, and it completely different. The language of the founder of the language. The language of the founder is, my product is amazing. We're gonna change the world. We're gonna be a billionaire. That's the language of the founder. And the language of the investor is, what is your track record? What are your metrics? Uh, how is your growth? How's your profitability? Who's your big competitor? So it's like they're speaking. One is speaking Chinese and the other one English. Completely different. So I love that you wrote this book. So if you want funding first, I think that you buy your book and learn the language that an investor understands. Because probably they could be interested in your product, but if you speak a language that they don't understand, when was last time that you bought something that you didn't understand? Right? So try to adapt yourself. So I think that this book you wrote is going to be a big benefit, so for all startups. But tell us again, how people can find you, how the process work.
Sure. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate your time today. So, I am on LinkedIn. So, Muema Lombe on LinkedIn. So, Muemalombe on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way to reach me. The book is available on Amazon Kindle. Both books are. So, the Ultimate Startup Funding Dictionary and then the Bootstrap Startup Funding Playbook. Both are available on Amazon Kindle. I'm also on X, formerly Twitter, so you can reach me there. And then I also have a Bootstrap Funding newsletter. It's on LinkedIn. So if you go to my LinkedIn profile and click on the newsletter, every day I publish 3 to 5 non-dilutive startup grants and opportunities for founders. So today I published $1 million in startup grants for founders as well. So every day I find new opportunities and send those to founders to help them get started.
Wow, that's brilliant. Thank you so much for the podcast. I really appreciate it. They have been spectacular. I can talk to you for hours because I'm a big fan of the topic, and I really one of the startup founders in the tech space to succeed. Same like you, right? And I hang out a lot with that community. I train them, I'll nurture them, I give them support. It's kind of a social responsibility project that I have with them, and I really want them to succeed. And it's sad the large amount of tech uh, companies that fail, and I see a lot of good products, very good products that never take the light of the day and never took off, because exactly what we're talking about, the dynamic of how to grow a tech business and those metrics that the investors and they want to see. It's just lack of experience. Sometimes you see that a lot of investors, I bring them startups and they're telling me, Harry, tell me in the next project for this guy. Yeah, the next one. I jump in, I'm thinking, and then the founders look at me, Harry, but I want to invest in this one. And he telling me the next one, the next idea. I said, because he knows that you can create good products, but he's aware that you don't have yet the process figured out how to scale it. For the way you talk, for the way you articulate, they know that until you don't fail, you're not going to learn that things doesn't work. So they want you, they like you, but until they don't see. Sometimes you said, look, I'm a second time founder, third time founder, I failed the first 2 times. Now the investor are paying attention. You say, okay, that's good. That's good. You failed 2 times. Okay, now we can have a conversation that we all can understand each other. Because also people think that investors are stupid. Probably they are investing because they have done this process before you and they exit and they understand. That's the main reason why they're investors in the first place there.
Exactly,
And
exactly. 100% agree.
so,
Exactly. Yeah.
okay, so thank you so much. For all of you following the podcast, see you in our next episode. We want to stop all, 5 steps how to make your first million. And thank you so much, Mama, for the podcast. You have been amazing. I'm rooting for you big time, man. And I would love that more people like you still around to help our founders, because a lot of projects, a lot of ideas, but nobody wants to touch them at the early stage. So they're left with Harry, with few people, with you, with few people that want to take this risk. But it's exciting. And eventually some things work if they listen.
Exactly.
If they
If they
listen, and
listen. Yes.
it works. So, so now
Absolutely.
when I see founders, I don't even I'm looking at the product. I'm looking what the capabilities they have to listen. And if you tell them something, they're actually taking on board. And how do you know I took on board what you told me? I said, oh, you know what? This is a good sign. You can show me these signs. I might help you out. I get we get more involved. So now they're looking for the signs, and after so many years of dealing with them. Okay, so
Absolutely.
see you so much. And for all of you, see you in our next show. Bye for now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.